Hello, brothers and sisters. Raven here. Today, we push forward in building Christian character. This book is driving me nuts. I so want to get through it. I would love to jump to the end, but I can't. There's too much in this to talk about, too many things to go over. And I see so many places he's trying to deceive people, trick people. And there's so many layers to the game he's playing. And today I came across something else that was driving me nuts. He started talking about a concept of simplicity. However, when he talks about simplicity, he doesn't really define it. He leaves it kind of vague. And I was wondering for a while, what does he mean? What is he talking about? Then I came to the answer, and what he threw in with it, I could see more and more of him kind of defending of the accusations and doing it terribly, but seeing how it's going to convince people, and the deception angered me. I figured, let's get through this. Let's show this. And boy, the end of it, the hypocrisy reaches a whole nother level. So we're going to start page 270, just the beginning of the section I want to show you, to sort of show you what he's trying to do here. The image he's trying to display. For anyone who walks before God in good conscience, in heartfelt conformity to his will, simplicity and sincerity of heart will follow and will govern one's conduct in the world. This will counterbalance and overcome the pulls exerted by the world's fashions. People who live like this are in the world, but not of the world. This passage in John 17 is one that always came to mind when I heard them talking, because you're supposed to be in the world, but not of it. Whereas they constantly get out of it completely and fully separate from it, which means they're not in it. So I always wondered how he'd respond to this passage. Instead, he brings it up here as though he teaches it, but how? Well, there's no real explanation. But let me show you why he didn't need to give an explanation. Look at what he said before. Simplicity and sincerity of heart will follow and will govern one's conduct in the world. Okay, so you're telling me simplicity is related to sincerity of heart, and simplicity makes it so you follow and will be governed. Your conduct in this world is governed. By whom? Him. Homestead Heritage. Their leadership. Because you're simple. You're simple-minded. You don't think for yourself. You let them decide. You let them govern. So he starts off with this, saying, let us decide for you. Be simple in letting us decide to show you are sincere. Otherwise, you're fake. This is indirect accusations. He's making it so that before he says this and tries to use this passage to make it sound like he teaches it, he tells you to think simply and then says, if you won't, you are insincere. Mind games. But watch what he does after bringing this passage in to sound like he's teaching it. This is only about a sentence later. He says this. This is how I stand with the world. The world is crucified to me, and I am crucified to the world. Simplicity severs the believer from the world, and even from the world's very dynamic. It's the step of reduction that takes the believer out of Egypt so he can come into Canaan. Out of the kingdoms of the world so he can enter the kingdom of God. This is all about getting out of the kingdoms of the world and entering the kingdom of God. Getting out of the world and entering homestead heritage. So no longer in the world, as you just said you were supposed to. You've completely gone against the passage you just quoted. How? He gives this other passage in Galatians that may sound a little bit closer to what he wants to teach. So it's like he gives you this one to make you think he's teaching along with it, but then slowly gives you other things to bring you to a point where you kind of forget that because you're being so simple, because of the simplicity of it. While at the same time, he's got a very complex mind game going on. But one thing I want to point out, this is what got me. This is where the hypocrisy reached a whole new level. That last sentence. It's the step of reduction that takes the believer out of Egypt so he can come into Canaan. Out of kingdoms of the world, Egypt, so he can enter the kingdom of God. Canaan? You're telling me Canaan, of all places, is what you're going to compare to the kingdom of God? Why? Know what this means. The reason he says this has to do with Egypt. Israel came out of Egypt to Canaan, to the land God promised them. What did they do there? What did they do to make it to this kingdom of God? Conquered. One thing they constantly teach is pacifism. Or at least that's what they say. That's what they claim. If you're teaching this, you are not teaching pacifism. You are contradicting your own words. Indirectly, you are telling people we need to conquer the world. And this is after making you simple enough. You are going to just follow. You're not going to stop and think about what's going on. You're just going to follow. Otherwise, you don't have a sincere heart. That's how they keep a hold of people. That brainwashing makes it so anytime you start to go away from them, you're scared because it means you must not have a sincere heart. If you're not following them, you must not truly be following the Lord. That's why people are stuck here. That's why people get stuck in cults. That's why people keep returning to cults even after seeing the issues. That's why we really need to try to help people when they come out. And we need to be sure we're not forcing the way the cults do. God bless.